Hey guys, welcome back to SciPi Academy. This video I'll be looking at how you can get 100% on the SAT writing portion. So let's get right into it. Okay, before I move any further in the video, we need to understand 3 important rules when it comes to the SAT writing. The first rule is consistency. There should be no logical contradictions in the answer choice that you choose. Correct answers are consistent with the rest of the sentence and passage. Number 2, precision. The answer choice that you choose should be exact and accurate. Correct answers make the meaning of the sentence as precise as possible. Number 3, concision. Lots of info in a few words. Barring the other errors, correct answers are as concise as possible. Now, I'm going to go through different portions of the SAT writing and how the answer choices might change. And you're going to see these 3 come up very often. So these concepts are applied to transitions, verbs, pronouns, and many, many more. Let's get right into those. The first one, transitions. When transitions change, look at the ideas that the transitions connect and check if they agree or disagree. Make sure that transition is consistent between the ideas. So the first portion of let's say the first part of the sentence is positive and the second is negative. You want to make sure that the transition allows for that change to occur. So you might want to do despite this or however, something that changes the tone. You don't want to use likewise or therefore, because positive to negative is a change. So you want to make sure that transition word is also indicating a change. Pause the video right now and you'll see an entire table of the most common transitions on the SAT. Take a screenshot or something if you want. Okay, moving on to verbs. These are action words if you guys forgot. Now verbs are all about consistency. And you don't want to do that something in past tense to present tense or even future tense. You want to make sure that the format of the passage and sentence stays consistent throughout. So verbs must be consistent with their subjects and they must also be consistent with other verbs in the sentence and the surrounding sentences as a whole. You don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. If it does, it's the wrong answer choice. Again, process of elimination from the last video. Go check it out. SAT reading. It should show up somewhere up here. Check it out, guys. It's super helpful. And you know what? The more info you can get right now, the better, right? So go take a look at that. Now, on to pronouns. These are he, she, you. These take the place of nouns. So once the subject has already been introduced, then and only then can you use pronouns. So sometimes the SAT might use a pronoun before the subject has actually been introduced. It's wrong. Now, pronouns must be consistent with the nouns they refer to. And they must be as precise as possible. If they could refer to more than one thing, eliminate them. So if it says he, but there's 2 different men right there in the same sentence, and you don't know which one it could potentially refer to, it's a wrong choice. Because you want it to be precise, you don't want it to be vague. Okay? Now, vocabulary. Now, the SAT has changed throughout the years, and in the new version of the SAT, you don't really need to know your vocabulary for the reading and writing one that much. Okay? However, you do want to understand basic words and how to use them appropriately in context. So if the vocab is changing in the answer choices, make sure that you choose the one that is consistent with the idea in the sentence. If the idea in the sentence, again, is about the weather changing, you don't want to suddenly include a word that has no relation to the weather, right? Or something general. You don't want anything to stick out. When you read through the passage after you include your answer choices, it should be like a normal read. If the words are changing, so the answer choices are more or less the same except for one word changing throughout them, you want to make sure that the choice that you choose is consistent with the rest of the passage. You also want to make sure that it provides the most precise meaning in context. You don't want you don't want it to stick out like a sore thumb. The writing should communicate specific ideas and events. The third point, that you want to make sure that the vocab is concise. Less is more. If everything else is correct, the shortest answer choice is correct. So let's say that the words are that all answer choices are consistent with the passage, okay? They're all precise, so there's no vague or ambiguity between what they could mean. Then the answer choice that's the shortest, that's the correct one. Now you're gonna see this happen on your SAT a lot, where the answer choice will be consistent, it will provide the most precise meaning, and they'll all look super similar. But the only difference will be that one of them will be shorter. And that is the SAT testing you on your ability to choose the most concise answer. And that's the one you should choose. Now, punctuation. This is extremely important in the SAT. There's 3 types of punctuation that you'll get tested on. Stop punctuation, And these ones can only link complete ideas. So both sides of the punctuation mark should be complete. For example, a full stop. The entire idea before it is complete and the idea after it is a complete idea. Second type will be a half stop. This must be preceded by a complete idea. For example, a colon. So whatever precedes a colon must be a complete idea, and after that is an incomplete idea, right? Because if it was two complete ones, you'd use a full, like a stop punctuation. So far, stop punctuation and half stop. The third type of punctuation is a go punctuation. This one can link anything except two complete ideas. Most common example of this is a comma. Alongside with punctuation, you're going to have to learn 7 words called fanboys. Now, this isn't you guys towards SciPi Academy. I know you guys are amazing fanboys. Like, subscribe, comment, you guys know the deal. But what I mean by fanboys in this instant is 7 words. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Fanboys. Now, where do you use fanboys? Pause the video right here. You'll get an entire table of the most common types of stop, half stop, and go punctuation. In the stop punctuation, you'll have noticed that there was in the column there was an option called comma and fanboys. So whenever you put a comma and one of the fanboys, that type of punctuation is a stop punctuation. So comma, for, okay, comma, but. That's a stop punctuation, and you got to make sure that both sides of that are complete ideas. I'm going to delve further into a few types of punctuation. The first one is commas. On the SAT, if you can't give a reason to use a comma, don't use one. It's as simple as that. And there are only 4 reasons to use a comma. First, in stop punctuation with a fanboy, just like I said. Second, in go punctuation. Third, in a list of 3 or more things. And the 4th place where you can use a comma is in a sentence containing unnecessary information. And the comma goes around the unnecessary information. So it'll say blah, 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 and then unnecessary information, and then more. So the unnecessary information, that's surrounded by commas or dashes. Remember, it could be surrounded by dashes or commas, but you can't mix and match. You can't have a dash before and then a comma. You can't have a comma and then a dash. You got to make sure that it stays consistent. The second type of punctuation I'm going to delve deeper into is apostrophes. If you can't cite a reason to use an apostrophe, don't use one. So the 2 reasons to use an apostrophe on the SAT reading are possessive nouns and contractions. Contractions are where 2 words come together and you remove a letter and put an apostrophe in its place. For example, the words it is can become its. And possessive nouns are something that belongs to someone. Those are the only 2 places where you should use an apostrophe. Now, taking all of that into account, the overall strategy for you heading into the SAT should be something like this. Number 1, check what's changing in the answer choices. Is it the transition words that are changing? Is it the vocabulary? Is it punctuation? What's changing? And depending on what's changing, use one of the strategies I just mentioned. Number 2, figure out what the question is testing and let the differences in answers reveal potential errors. Now link this with the process of elimination. Whatever doesn't suit what's supposed to happen, cross it out. If it's a transition between positive and negative, like I mentioned, and there's a word that's changing and doesn't really fit in, cross it out. Because really, a transition word should go into its place. So make sure that you know what's changing and how that fits in. And the 4th one is, if you can't eliminate 3 answer choices, pick the one that's most concise and consistent with the rest of the passage. Again, the 3 rules: consistency, precision, and concision. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you found that video useful. Make sure to subscribe, like, leave comments. Tell me if you found that helpful. What would you like to see next? All of the good stuff. And again, like in the SAT reading, this video, the notes that I was using, they're all linked down in the description. So feel free to go down there and view these. I use these as speaker points, so I would elaborate on whatever I read. You can use them in reverse, so you can use these as notes for the video. I hope you guys found that useful, and have a good one, guys. Best of luck on your exams.